Tonight, I think the date is 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
June the 20th. I'm going to talk about the big black pot when I was growing up. In this pot was very important to us. It was back in the day, I don't know, maybe early 50s. This pot, they made crackling. Most people know what crackling bread is. Over 30 should know what crackling bread is. This pot is set in the backyard. At this time, there was no bar soap. So, mama and them, they would use a grease, lye, whatever it takes to make soap out of the ingredient that we made soap out of, they made soap. And this soap was used on the farm for everything. Because at that time, you couldn't go to the store and buy a bar of soap. Now, we wash clothes with this soap, dishes, took baths with this soap. It was homemade. And when they wanted some clothes really boiled, really clean, this pot was clean, and they was boiled some kind of way for some reason. So now, in the meantime, our mattress was made out of straw and hair from the hogs. After hog killing, we have a season where you kill hogs on the farm. And they would use that straw. Some of the mattresses were made out of straw, made out of grass. You couldn't go to the store and buy no mattress. And the older women, in the summertime, they'd be sitting on the shade tree, peeling apples, peaches, and they will can it. Put it in a can for $300 to $400 jars of fruit and beans and vegetables and stuff. We kept that during the winter because would nothing spoil, and you had to keep it warm enough in the cellar that did nothing freeze. And we kept it with warm heat from the house that you use wood to make it warm enough in the winter. So now, this big black pot, it was used for many things. Washing things. The pots and things had to be washed during hog killing season, most of the time in this big pot, because the pots and pans were too big to do anything in the house, because all the dishes were washed in a dish pan. Some people never heard of a dish pan.
I've seen that thing. That thing is heavy.
And they used to wash dishes in it. So that big black pot was heavy, yes. And when they get through with that, during after hog killing time, they cook meat that you cut up in small blocks and made skin that was used in crackling bread. The skin that you buy today in the store were made from this big black pot. And why? It was fat meat cut in small blocks, small pieces, and you put it in a sack, and you squeeze the juice out of it. You squeeze the oil, grease, lard out of it, what it was called. And you use the crackling, what they call skin, today, to make you use them in bread, and you sit and eat them just like you do skin today. Wasn't made like that though. That process different. Big black pot. Where we made our lard, because you couldn't go to the store and buy no lard, and it wasn't no cooking oil, no such thing. So now you got to wash clothes. This big black pot, you clean it real good and pour water into what we call wash tubs. And a wash bowl. Wash bowl. You wash the clothes on your hand because there wasn't no washing machine. And after you wash them with the water that you got from the big black pot, you hang it on a clothesline so they could dry. That's in the summertime. You had to wash enough of clothes in the winter to get through the winter with clean clothes on your hand, with your hand. No machine now. So as the family grow, get bigger, like I came from a family of 11. I'm the oldest, so I caught it. This big black pot, you get the water out and you put it in a wash tub, and you had a wash bowl go down until all the clothes was washed. Now, after you wash them, you need clear water in another tub to rinse them. And then you wring them all out on your hand and hung them on a clothesline, usually in the backyard. So they could dry, because there was no such thing, no dryer. And now, in this day and time, so much have changed in the world. Thank God. God bless America. Now, we got all the clothes on the clothesline. We had irons made out of steel, because there was no such thing, no electric iron. You set this iron on the stove that you had wood in it, had to put wood in the stove to heat the iron, and you had an ironing board. It still exists today. I even have one, but it's more modern than that was back in the day, because back in the day it was plank with a rag on top of it that you ironed the clothes. And you set this iron on the stove, and when it gets hot, you put it on the rag. When it burns this rag, it's hot. So you rub it till it stops burning the rag, and then you iron the clothes with it. And it worked. Now, the older women, out of the old clothes that you had, they would take and cut small blocks off it and make a quilt for the winter, because it's going to get cold. So they sat on the tree and talking, drinking lemonade, and some making quilts. Now we just sleep on a blanket. Some people don't know what a quilt is.
For those that don't know, that's handmade.
Yes, it was. And you sitting on the shade tree, because there wasn't no air conditioning. whole lot of places wasn't no fan. It's weird when you go to church, everybody had a fan. If you're sitting in church and they be fanning up on them big hats. And so, this is life on the farm I'm talking about down in Tennessee. And so now, after you got the clothes, oh, you sit there sometimes look like to me for days ironing with this iron. I wish I could see more. But anyway, now on the farm, they'll talk about the big black pot. If you had a lot of cooking to do, something, you would need this big black pot. And on this black pot, how you heat it, you build fire next to it, and you keep putting the coals up on it, like if you were barbecuing. We get to that later. Like if you were barbecuing, you build a big pile of wood over here, you made a fire, and you made coals. And you use a shovel to put them up under there to keep the stuff boiling and hot. It worked. And later on, it's nice, you need a bath. And they had a little round tub, the same wash tub that you wash clothes in. You would clean it out. Pour some water in it. The usually came from a big pot, a tea killer. Now, they use tea killer now to make tea with it.
Yeah.
But tea killer back there was a big black skillet, a big black
Teapot.
tea killer, like a big black teapot, made the same way, but this was made out of cast iron. There was very little steel during that day. In them days, everything was just about iron or steel, but it was very little steel. I don't know what you call it, but it looked like steel, but it was most like stainless steel.
Cast iron?
No, that was the tea killer. It was made out of cast iron. Now, this cast iron was very popular back in them days until other iron stuff, oil have started coming out. So now, you run into the road, you heard a car coming down the street, you run to the road to look at it, because there wasn't very many cars. Our car was a mule wagon, a horse, a wagon was a Cadillac, really, and a pickup truck, because there wasn't no trucks at that time.
Some places they still use a horse in a wagon.
And yes, you are correct. And so everybody had horses and cows and wagon. Now, that wagon was a very important tool on the farm at this time. We're talking about back in the 50s. And the 50s was very rough. Now, later on, more cars started coming. And you go back to work. After that car passed, you don't look at it. And it wasn't about 2 or 3 cars company at that time. You knew just about every car it was. But today it's much different. Because they didn't build a car until 1949 when they built the first car. When I be talking about this, I'll be skipping around and I might go back because I am 84 years old, thank God, hallelujah.
Amen.
And to able to feel this way, I feel I've been blessed with pretty good health. Now, I thank God for everything, and I also hear her say, God bless America. Now, there were no electric lights. When it get dark, we had what you call lanterns. I'm saying lanterns. It was a light that you could use at night. Lanterns. You use it at night when you're outside because it was made in a way it had a glass around it. I don't know what you call it. Anyway, so the wind wouldn't blow it out. And this lantern, it was very seldom used in the house because it was a thing that had been used in the dark. Sometimes we used it in the house. But most of the time in the house we had a lamp. Now, we move on. I might come back to the big black pot and tell you something else when I think about it because it's been a while since I went through this. But the rooster still crow before day. That's what we got up about most of the time when the rooster crow. Because when the rooster crow, it wouldn't be long before day. The things were very cheap during that time. You could buy something with a penny, a nickel, a dime, a quarter. If you go in the store now and try to buy something for a nickel, a penny, a dime, a quarter, they'll probably call the police. Now, what do you mean? You could buy something. There was candy you could buy for a penny. There was pop you could buy for a nickel. There was milk you could buy for 10 or 15 cents, a quarter maybe. Whole gallon of milk, you could get it for around a quarter, even cheaper than that in some places, depending on where you bought it at. Stuff was really cheap back then. You say, well, how come? Because money was scarce. Where you going to get a dime from? Some people will do anything for 20 cents. Because you could buy something with 20 cents. You had some money. But every year, it would get better and better. Now, there was no television. So you know, the first television came out about in 1953. In 1953, if you had a television, we had one. People come through the woods at night come through the field and the woods to come by, to sit by, to watch the television because all the other time we've been listening to radio. And you heard somebody had a TV, you had a crowd almost every night come to look at the TV. And it was white and black. And it went off every night at 12 o'clock. And when it went off, they would say, oh, see, can you see? They would sing the national anthem. So now, there was no running water. Everybody had their own system or well. How you did that, you take the pick, hit it, find your spot. You make a circle with it all the way around. That would be the top of your system. That's where you get your water. Every house had gutters on it. So the water would run, you had to go where you could turn it in and turn it in the system. And when the system got full of water, you could turn it where no more water will run in the system at the bottom of the gutter. My talking sometimes is kind of rough. But anyway, now, if we get to the field, we'll get there for just about day. You might make 50 cents or 75 cents a day working in the tobacco, corn, and tomatoes and cabbages, onions, or fields. It didn't pay you very much money, but if you could get 50 cents or 75 cents a day, you were doing good. It would get better. Each year, it got better. They had a little raise. Nickel, dime, 15-cent raise was very good. Money was hard to get. And truthfully, at that time, it didn't need very much money, no way. See, on the farm, we didn't have to pay no rent every month. Dad and them probably did. I was young, so it was hard for me to know, because when I got big enough to pay rent, things had changed. The world had changed. But I'm still on the farm. I had to get up in the morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think I was 6 years old. I learned to chop wood. It was the only way we had the only fuel we had was wood. And I would learn to sharpen an axe with a file. And I would chop enough of wood for Mama to cook 3 meals a day with a wooden stove. And when the fire get low, she might say, boy, put me 2 or 3 pieces of wood in the stove. She probably making biscuit. She made biscuit for breakfast, cornbread for dinner, and most of the time we had about the same thing for supper, if she didn't feel too good, that we had for dinner. See, during that time, you ate breakfast, 12 or 11 o'clock you ate dinner. Just about when you get in from the field dark, it begin to get dark, or you get in from feeding the hog, chicken, and the cows, and the horses, and the goats, and the pigs. And you get in for supper, you will be dark. There, at that time, we weren't even allowed to speak English. It was yas'm, no, yes sir, yas'm, no. What kind of talking is this? So, moving on, we get to when the telephone came out. This is real. They run the line all the way across the country. They're always running down the road. One end of the road to the other end of the road. Now, you pick up the phone, somebody talking on it, you had to wait till they get through talking before you can make a call. Everybody could hear everybody's conversation anytime they want to pick up the phone. Because one line, but they run one line, and everybody use it. There wasn't too much of a misunderstanding, because at that time, that's the way people was. I mean, it was so quiet and pleasant back there, you didn't even have to lock your doors at night. Matter of fact, some people, we slept in the backyard. Just to be messing around, boys. Those people, they slept in the house. Us young boys around 12, 13. We thought we were half grown, so we were sleeping in the backyard. Now, you get to the point now, come hog killing time. See how I'm talking? I'm talking by the way when I think of stuff that we done on the farm. Like gathering the eggs up from the hen house. We had a hen house. Now, the hog killing time usually happens in around January and February and March. Them was cold months. And it got cold enough where you could kill hogs all day, cut them up all day, whatever. Did nothing spoil. Nothing spoil. Then, after you get the pig cut out the pen and get them for a butcher to cut them up, usually be the older man on the farm because they were sharpening their knives. They were so sharp, they cut like razor. And you learn to do this, to sharpen knives, sharpen saws. Oh, I'll get back to that in a minute. But now, hog killing time, you had plenty meat, fresh meat to eat. And now, you had to go to the smokehouse. We had what you call a smokehouse. In the smokehouse, you had plenty of salt. It was weird. The shoulder and the bacon meat was put down in a box. I forget what they call it. But anyway, you use salt. You put down a piece of meat. First, you put down some salt. You put down a piece of meat, lay it on top of that salt. You take some salt and put it on top of that meat. You take some salt, put it on, lay it down again, and put it on top of that meat. And it kept all winter. Now your ham, which is the back leg of the hog, you smoke them in what you call the smokehouse. The sausage, you had to make your own sausage. So you make your own sausage, you grind them and put sage in them, it's some of the best sausage. And you hang them up in the smokehouse, and you take sawdust and wood and smoke them, and smoke the ham. When you said they got smoked turkey wing and smoked ham, that's how we done it. We use sawdust, and it have to be a special kind of wood. Now, on the sausage is certain meat you cut from the pig, from the hog, to make sausage out of it. There was certain kind of meat you cut from the hog to make bacon. Certain kind of meat you cut from the hog to make pork chop. Shoulder meat will usually the front leg. Ham comes from the back leg. You learn how to do this on the farm. And we're not going to talk about chitlins, on the farm. At that time, they were very important. And a pluck was cooked, liver, all of this come from the hog. You learn all these different parts. Okay. We'll move on to the tobacco patch. Daylight come, you be in the tobacco patch. To get them plants to grow, you had what we call a peg. When I first started off with them, was a peg. It was a stick sharp enough to stick in the ground, because you had plowed the field up. You had made what you call a hill, and it was kind of soft. If it was soft, you thump it with your foot so you can get the peg, make a hole in it. You put your plant in it, which you got from what you call a plant bed. A plant bed, you go in the woods, you pile a lot of wood up on so much ground, maybe about 10 to 15 yards. There you sow seed. You really now after you make all the wood on it, you burn it. So it kills all the insects and ants and things. There's nothing in that dirt. It becomes pure. Nothing in it and won't nothing get in it. Okay. At the plant bed, you plant turnip green, mustard green, and other vegetables and flowers around the plant bed. And the plant bed, I plant even lettuce. Ooh, we love that kind of lettuce that grew around a plant bed. Now, on this plant bed, that's where you get the tomato slip from. And you get your tomato slip from there, and you get your tobacco slip from the plant bed. You go to the wood, got your wagon, your mule, and you get a load. And you bring the turnip green home so she can cook dinner. Ooh, they were so good. Lettuce, radish, they grew around the plant bed. Now, the tomato slip will plant the same way you plant tobacco. The sweet potato slip, only difference between the sweet potato slip, you had to make what you call a hill. I mean, you go across the land, you ply it up, and you disc it, what they call disc is something you use to bust the clods out of the soil before you make it ready to plant. And you plant a sweet potato. Now, the white potato, you made a hill, but it was made different. It take a lot of water for white potatoes. So what you do, you dig a hole. So that hole can catch some water. So you dig a hole, you put the potato in the dirt. And the roots of the potato will go through the dirt and get the water. You made that hole so you have a place for your potatoes to go. They grow in a hole, white potatoes did. But now the modern farm is much different now. Why food is so high. But just back in the day, we were still in the 50s, or maybe the 40s. 40 and 50 was rough. In the 60s, the whole world's changed. But now, on the farm, you had the chicken. When spring comes, everything on the farm had offspring, even the rabbits in the field. I was a little boy, walking up through there, you see a pig sitting over here with a bunch of little pigs, dog had a bunch of little puppies, cats had a little kitten, pigs all over the pig pen. That's where you kept the pigs at. They had little pigs, the sow, and the female hog are called sow back there. And little one were called pig. And it was, you didn't think about nothing, you enjoyed it. It's weird, but it was, to think about it now, I'm so proud to speak about how life was then, how it's so much different now. It's so much easier now. It's so blessed to for God to let me see the change. Now, another thing on the farm, you had what you call the wood. We called it it wasn't the forest, but something we call the woods. We call the woods. You go to the woods, you use what you call a cross-cut saw. A man on this side, a man on that side. You cut the log. So now we cutting wood so we have enough wood to get through the winter. You had to find time to do it. You need a wood pile. And so with this axe, you know how to cut a tree where it falls any way you want it to fall. You don't want it to fall on you, so you want it to fall where you want it to fall. So you can work with it. Chop it up, cut it up. I mean, you had to do this every year. God bless it. He gave us the strength to do it. Now, you had to draw enough water out the system so you have something to drink, wash, bathe, cook. All the water came out the system. And sometimes when you had what you call pond, that's where the animals drank. All the animals come to go to that pond to drink. They were thirsty. And sometimes you walk all the way down there with the horse or the mule or something, to a cow or something, and they wasn't thirsty. They don't drink. But before that day over, you got to take them back and make sure that they drink. To do this work, you had to eat good. And all the young ladies learned to cook in them days from mama, our grandmama. Now, it's much different. I don't even have to talk about it. Since it wasn't no restaurant, to get a good meal, a good dinner, you ate at grandmama's house or you ate at home, uncle, cousin. Now, I'm talking about eating.
Yeah, that's my favorite subject.
Now, there, we barbecue. Holiday comes, let's say 4th of July. The young boys will be playing ball. The older men, just like it, will kill the pig, the sheep, the goat, small calf. And we had what we call a barbecue pit. The barbecue that we have now, we had barbecue pit. That's where we barbecue the whole hog. It's a funny thing. When I left from Tennessee and I came to Cleveland, and I saw a sign on the place that we had barbecue. And I walked in there and told them I want a pound of barbecue. She said, "Oh, we have barbecue dinner and we can have barbecue sandwich. We don't sell pound." So she fixed my barbecue up and everything. I just know I had some whole meat. So I get to the house. I opened it up to get down to eat, and she had 3 ribs in there. I told that woman, I said, "This ain't no barbecue." I said, "These bones." She said, "No." She said, "Where are you from?" She said, "You must be from down south." We barbecued the whole hog. I said, "These bones here, I don't want no bones. I want some barbecue." So I realized that here, this is what they barbecue. And back home, if you didn't barbecue no ribs. You take them out, put them in a jar, a big stone jar, salt in it, and you put the rib in it so you can cook some cabbage, kraut. Yeah, kraut. Uh, what they put on hot dogs now. What is it called? But anyway, I look at that.
Sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut, yeah. Sauerkraut. Now, we made our own sauerkraut. We made our own, they say, cha-cha, whatever it is.
Charcoal.
And so, now, here, where the younger boys and the other athletes, they are working on basketball, football, whatever they like. Because we were trying to get out the South. And you work from sun up to sundown. And when I got to the city, they said, you work 8 hours. I thought we were taking a break. He said, no, you go home. It ain't dark yet. That's where I came from. We worked from sun up to sundown. And it wouldn't happen. But anyway, most farms had their own pond. Most ponds had plenty of fish in it. But them big time fishers would go to the river and fish. But most farms grew their own fish. And now, eggs, chicken, everything on the farm will fight you if you mess with that baby. A hen will lay the eggs. When it come to breathing time for chicken, you didn't get them eggs. You will have to hurt that hen bad. She laid them eggs, she laid about 12 eggs, and she sat on them. You did not bother. That's where baby chicken come from. But later on, we learned to have what you call brooders. And where you build it up and you put bulbs in there, baby chicken will hatch. And the bulb will keep them warm till they got big enough to stay warm themselves. And when they got big enough to stay warm themselves, you shut the brooder off because they too big to be in there. You take them out and put them in what we call a chicken pen. Now you got a chicken pen and you got a pig pen. That's where you keep the hogs, in a pig pen. Now, we used to feed the hogs and the pig. You will always hook up with a restaurant. So at night, when they get ready to throw all this food away and everything, we put it in what you call garbage can. And you bring it back, and you feed the hogs. Then they stop you from doing that. Then we started feeding them milling hog food. That's why they changed the way pork was made. This is kind of funny. I remember the last time that we could go to town to get some food for the hog. I must have been about 14 or 15. We went that night, got to Garvey, parked the truck down there, and told me to feed the hog. That's okay. I'm feeding the pig. When they get hungry, they don't care what you do to them, they gonna eat. So I got through feeding. I had never drove a truck. I drove a tractor. I've been driving a tractor until about 9, 10 years old. Got in there the truck, gonna bag it up, went straight through Grandmama's garden. She It was warmer than 7 So I thought that I just knew I had a whooping coming this day. So he said, Mama's mad with you running her garden. I just know she was going to get me. So he said, I said, Dad, you got to get that get the truck out of Grandmama's garden. He said, no, I didn't put it in there. You going to get it out. I got back in that truck, backed that truck up, and parked. He said, no, we going down the road. And I was young, but I took that truck down the road, and I brought it back. He said, you better not wreck my truck. That's where they talk to you back there then anyway. And so I said, oh, my God. And she had a pretty garden. Some of the pretty cabbage and onions that you want to see. But anyway, we got over that because she cooked dinner and I got a chance to eat with her, so we got through with that. Food was very important in them days. And God made those women where they could cook this food on a wooden stove and made them boil so we could keep wood piled by the side of the stove so she could put it in the stove. And the stove was made with wood, but it also had a oven to it. Yeah. And so there you could bake bread and cakes. Ooh, it made some good cakes back in them days. Now, after eating, Grandmama, she used to cook for about 11 cowboys. And she come out there at night and rang this big dumb bell. We call it the dinner bell. And I came to the city, I heard these bells ring, and I thought people were getting ready to eat. And you know, the bell rang at churches, the bell rang at different programs that they have in the city. I didn't know that. So every time I heard the bell ring, I thought every time I said, what people eating? Do they eat all day? And so, now, the dinner bell was what she would ring to let you know it was time to come out the field and time to eat. Very few people had watches during that day. I liked the watch. I had at that time, they had what they called a pocket watch. My son gave me one. I think I still have it. A pocket watch. You see a very few men with pocket watch. It was a thing back in the day. My son gave me one. But anyway, we'll move on. Now, our clothes. When you was a kid, you had some clothes. You had what you call Sunday clothes. Sunday shoes. That Saturday night, you put that tea killer on now and pour water in the tub, what we call the wash tub. And you get ready because you know Sunday where you was going. You don't know about Sunday. Now, you had a pair of shoes you wore through the week. Boots you wore through the week. But on Sunday, them Sunday shoes, you better not put them on until Sunday. And you put those Sunday shoes on, couldn't nobody tell you nothing. You walk like you supposed to. But one thing about it, when Sunday come, you knew where you was going. You didn't have to ask nobody. Now, at church, you mess up in church if you want to, the old people just look at you. You know what was going on. And so, if you didn't, if she had to take you outside to talk to you, when you came back, you was a good boy. You sit there real quiet and listen to the people in the church.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Monday morning, you be in school, you said pledge allegiance and the Lord's Prayer before school started. Because everybody went to school was Christian. We didn't know nothing about no other religion but our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and God. So after that, you would be ready to go to work. You'd be ready to go to the field. Now, the tobacco at that time was big, about 4 feet high. Well, barely grow taller than that. Burley tobacco, I don't know what they do with it. It was real yellow tobacco. You hung it in an old bun. But dark tobacco, they made cigarettes out of. You had to put it in a bun that no smoke could come out of it. It had to be smoke proof. This tobacco, what we call dark tobacco. It was burley tobacco, it was dark tobacco. So the dark tobacco, once it got big, you had split it and cut it with a knife called a shank. You hung it on a stick, tobacco stick. You put about 6 pounds down. You had to pick it up with the mule and the wagon and the trailer to put it in the bun so you could smoke it. And you put the smoke on that tobacco. It's a funny thing. Some people never seen green tobacco. Because dark tobacco, we call it, you have to smoke it. You put 2 logs down, and you make a fire in between of them, and you put sawdust on it, and it didn't blaze. But you make sure when you put sawdust on it, that whole log burn up, and it did no blaze come up under that tobacco. Now the youngest one, after you cut it, got it to the bun, the younger one, he's the one that go up top. You go way up a bun and you stand around the tier, they call it. And when it come down, when you get all hung up, you come down. But you always were the first one to finish because at the top of the bun, the chair was smaller. They were shorter. The tier was smaller at the top. So young men love to go to the top because we get through quicker. Okay. You smoke it like you do the ham, the sausage. But it's different. It's bigger. So when these logs there, when the sawdust, smoking the tobacco, it'd be so much smoke in that smokehouse, in that barn. Now you're in a barn. They don't call this a smokehouse. They call it a barn. And it'd be so much smoke in there, you barely could see your hand. And now, when it gets golden brown, you don't put no fire on it no more. You clean all the ashes out of the barn, clean, because now you're getting ready to process it. You get all the ashes out. Now you take it down and in a pile. Now, listen close. You take 1 stalk of tobacco, you have the bottom part we call the lug. That was the cheapest part of it. Because it might be dirty or something. Okay. The second part of it called the sucker. And the best part of it is called the leaf. Believe it, each one of them had a different price. Maybe 55 cents a pound. The lugs maybe was 55. The second was maybe 75. And the leaf might be 85 or 90 or $1. And all three, one plant had the 3 classes of tobacco on it. Pure tobacco. We grew it, I bought 5 of them. Anyway. Now, what happened, people like to make more money. I'll just leave that right there, because I think you know what I'm talking about. But now, after that, you got to go in there. Every store want to do the lugs, want to do the second stuff, and one will do the leaf. That's how you prepare it to make your money. And God bless America.
Alright guys, you already know this is the 3rd installment of Seasonal Advice from Minister Andrew Jackson Mallory. To support the show, go to Cash App, GCC Love, all caps. Appreciate you. See you on the next one.